Hey everybody, it's Charlie. This is going to be my non-spoilery Logan review video, and I'll explain why this is the most important non-Deadpool X-Men movie that they've ever made. We're entering comic book blockbuster season, so if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get everything. I do weekly giveaways. There's a Logan giveaway happening right now that I'll explain at the end of the video, and there's a whole bunch of Deadpool stuff that's going to be happening in the next couple of months. There's a lot of Deadpool that we'll have to reference during this just because of the way that movie turned everybody on their heads, turned the X-Men universe on its head. It was the most important X-Men universe movie that Fox had ever made until now. It was the Regenesis, the Resurrection. You guys may have heard about Resurrection, the comic book arc. They're bringing the X-Men back in Marvel Comics of the Fox Marvel movies, because what had happened is that they just been following this formula of bigger, but the franchise had started collapsing under the weight of itself, and the same thing had happened with the Wolverine character. The Fox studio chief was really clear that behind the scenes, even after the success of Deadpool, this hardcore rated R comic book movie, there were a lot of people inside the boardroom that were very uncomfortable with the direction that the Logan movie was taking. They're like, this isn't the fun, wisecracking, cigar-chomping Wolverine. Where's that movie? We're comfortable with that. The Lego Batman movie even made fun of that idea too. Just the really hilarious idea that studio executives get really scared when movies seem too dark. But there are just so many things that went into this movie before they made it, things that are changing behind the scenes because of the Deadpool movie, that helped to give them this really crazy opportunity to do a nice bookend for the Wolverine character in this really intimate way, while at the same time delivering on the idea of what a comic book movie should be. Something with spectacle, something with heart. And regardless of what you think about the other X-Men films, there's never been any question about Hugh Jackman's performance. He is literally one of the best things that they ever discovered in that first X-Men movie. He talks about himself in really funny ways when he looks at that original X-Men film. He's like, I was basically faking it till I made it. Because about 17 years ago, when he was originally first cast, when they were starting to make that first X-Men film, he was still on the rise. He'd done a couple movies, but he hadn't done big blockbusters like this, and nobody knew what was going to happen. But the Wolverine character, just like he became one of the most popular Marvel characters, especially through the 90s, he also became their most popular character. So sort of the X-Men universe started to spin around him. So a lot of that was just because of Hugh Jackman's sheer charisma, sheer presence on screen, in the idea that the Wolverine is just a really badass character. Usually that's what it takes. You have to have the right character with the right actor in the right movie. And unfortunately, there have been a couple of misfires, but mostly, like the Fox studio chief said, before Deadpool came out and sort of proved that they could do really hardcore movies, it doesn't all have to be popcorn, consequence-free, family fare. You can tell really human stories in really small ways and still maintain some of the spectacle that people expect when they go to see a Marvel movie. And even though this is X-Men, it's still Marvel. It still has the Marvel branding. You know, you go to see those characters, you expect to see certain things. And a lot of people have been drawing comparisons to Old Man Logan, one of the most hardcore Wolverine comic book stories of all time. But it's really only loosely based on that idea. Just the idea that Wolverine is at the end of his story. He's reached the end of his rope. He's done. He wants to lie down. He's totally ready to die. He's this gunslinger who just seen too many fights. You've seen some of those trailer moments where people say, you know, what this means is they cock the guns, and he's like, I've heard that way too many times.
It looks like Mr. Munson hires some muscle.
Looks that way.
He's a friend of mine.
Friend with a big mouth.
I hear that a lot.
And you probably hear this too.
More than I'd like.
The only thing that's keeping him going is caring for the aging Professor X before the Laura character enters the story, and he's forced to protect her, forced to confront his own mortality, because as he says, he's seen so many of his friends die, and he just doesn't want to deal with that anymore. He laughs at the idea of the comic book adventures that Laura shows him, like, oh, we got an X-Men fan here. Very little of this actually happened, and it didn't happen the way it happened in these comic books. They do find really fun ways to work in all kinds of Easter eggs. I know there are a lot of questions that people have, but once the movie comes out, we can do Easter eggs and spoilers and talk about what's going to be happening next with the character. But just to place this movie into the context of other superhero movies, if you remember when Iron Man 3 came out, it was after that first big Avengers film. It was sort of a bookend for the Tony Stark character, Robert Downey Jr. He had not renewed his contract yet, so they needed to make a movie that could sort of be the last Tony Stark story, which is why it felt a little bit smaller, why he threw the arc reactor in at the end of the movie. They just needed a way to close the book on that portrayal of that character should Robert Downey Jr. decide not to come back. Now obviously that's not what ended up happening because he came right back in Avengers Age of Ultron. They rolled back all those changes, so it became very confusing in retrospect. But Hugh Jackman has made no such promises. He said that this is effectively his last Wolverine solo film, and funny enough, there was just an interview with Patrick Stewart where he said, Hugh has waved goodbye to the X-Men universe, but I've done no such thing yet. That's not spoilers for the movie, it's just that Patrick Stewart hasn't decided that he no longer wants to be associated with the X-Men movies. There are like so many different time travel, trippy ways that you could work him into the First Class movies, because there's sort of this creative reimagining happening behind the scenes because of what Deadpool did, and now because of what this movie did too. It just reinforces the idea that they can tell different types of stories. They don't all have to be like those big X-Men films, appealing to the broadest possible audience, and thereby as a consequence, appealing to no one. So whatever crazy sci-fi twist they want to use, I'm totally down with Patrick Stewart just popping up in random ways throughout the X-Men universe. Cable is a time traveler. There are a number of different ways that you could show characters again, no matter what ends up happening to them in any of the movies. So it goes without saying, Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, always solid performances regardless of what the script is. Even in Wolverine Origins, I feel like Hugh Jackman gave a good performance with really bad material. The script, the dialogue was terrible. Hugh Jackman did what he could with it. We have to talk about Daphne Keane though, the Laura character. She is far and away my new favorite female character from any comic book movie ever. She's sort of an 11 type character from Stranger Things, like a Millie Bobby Brown. Everybody was talking about her last year. Oh my god, who is this young actress? She had this amazing performance that was so withdrawn, just like 11 in Stranger Things. She has very little dialogue. Most of her performance is in her physicality, in the same way that Wolverine's performances are in his physicality. Even in his own Wolverine solo movies, Hugh Jackman does not have a lot of dialogue. That's just not the Wolverine character. He's not super chatty like Deadpool, but she does this really amazing job of conveying this Wolverine-type physicality, this raw rage, while at the same time being this little girl. Wolverine, for example, he looks like somebody that you wouldn't want to walk up to at a bar and mess with. He has that look about him. But Laura is this little girl. She doesn't look threatening at all. That's why I love this convenience store scene here that's in all the trailers. She looks so vulnerable, just kind of picking and choosing, grabbing all the candy that she can, but takes it from 0 to 100 on a dime. She's so great at that in this movie, just turning on a dime. So even though this movie takes place in 2029, way beyond what's happening in the timeline of the other mainstream X-Men films, even Deadpool, I really hope they find a way to use her again in the X-Men universe, because just like 11 last year, she's going to become one of the most in-demand young actors. Think about it this way, 11 was actually seen on the set of Infinity War, just watching them film some of those scenes. That's how in demand she is. The Star Wars people want her. The Marvel people want her. So if Fox isn't careful, she's going to get snatched up by one of these other giant franchises. But we can talk a little bit more about the future of this character, the future of these characters, the Wolverine character, when we get closer to the movie coming out, when I do spoiler videos. So when you do have a chance to see the movie, just let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And just be careful for spoilers, since this is supposed to be a non-spoiler review. But it was an amazing bookend for the Wolverine character, one of the most important Marvel movies that Fox has ever made. Just expect to see more stuff like this from Fox in the future. They've already talked about how they're retooling things, doing smaller movies. They're not as obsessed with appealing to the least common denominator, and it's just going to make you feel like they can actually make really amazing movies. Like, this will reignite your faith in Fox as a studio if Deadpool didn't already do that. What's going to happen next is I have new Flash to post, but there'll be Deadpool happening next week. Leave all your requests for Deadpool videos in the comments below. If there's a specific video you want me to do, And the Logan giveaway is just for 2 IMAX gift certificates. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a Logan comment on this video, and congratulations to last week's giveaway winner, Lunchbox. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. While you wait for that, you can click here to learn all about Marvel's Mystery Namor project, and you can click here for my Black Panther teaser breakdown.